So the advice I would give to all the youth out there that's struggling with alcohol abuse and drug abuse is that, one, Jesus cares.
Each new day is another chance to get our lives together, be it financially, socially, morally, or spiritually. However, some do not always get a second chance. So, if you're fortunate enough to get a second chance, don't waste it. Welcome to the Second Chance Show. On this show, we'll hear real stories of remarkable turnarounds. People that were blessed to receive second chances from God. Some were born into the faith, some weren't. We'll focus more on salvation, and here and there we'll talk about business and relationships. Enjoy. Our first guest is a young man that's on fire for God. He studied education, specializing in teaching history, and right now he's an entrepreneur. Not everyone has had the opportunity of being born into a Christian home. Sometimes God allows his children to be born in darkness, and then he shines his light. And the Bible says the darkness could not comprehend the light. When I heard his story, I was challenged very much, and it showed me that God can never lose his child, no matter where he's born. Today, we're going to hear this story from Peter. Please welcome our first guest. Welcome to this show.
Thank you for having me, Sister Bune.
How are you?
I'm happy. I'm always happy to do the Lord's work.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So please tell us about your background, where you were born and how you were raised.
Okay. So my story started long ago.
Okay.
My mother left for the UK.
Okay.
So I was left to be raised by my dad. So I was basically raised by a single parent, while my mom was trying to help with the income by getting a better job overseas. So my upbringing was that, I was raised by my father, and you know how being raised by your father is. It's always tough love and not a lot of affection.
Yes.
And love and care, and my dad was also a drink, so that was the norm at the house.
Okay.
There's always empty bottles. The fridge was always full of beer, and I can say that's probably where my story started. I would open the fridge, start by stealing one can, drink it or drink half, put it back. So that's kind of where my journey began.
Okay. So those are the challenges that you faced being raised by one parent, like not having the motherly love.
Yes.
So now, let's talk about school. How was, you said you'd take a can here and there. So how did you choose your friends, not having like much guidance from a mom and meeting other kids who maybe are in the same or worse?
Okay.
Was it just easy to get along with people that are doing the same?
It wasn't easy to get along in school, because to be honest, I would say growing up in that type of environment, right, where there's like little encouragement and stuff like that, I didn't really have a lot of confidence when I went to school. Worse, added on to the issues that I was facing at home. So just I was a quiet person.
Okay.
So I think I just kind of hung around with the other quiet people. So we we're drawn to each other.
Yes.
Because we had the same vibe, and it turns out they also had similar stories as well as me. So it was kind of like a band of misfits. They also used to, do naughty things at their houses, and we kind of bonded on that.
So we can say that it wasn't more of like you always getting influenced. It was like you influenced me, I influenced you.
Yeah,
type
it
of
was
thing.
it was a bring and share type thing. We would meet
Okay.
in school and we would kind of share notes.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I do. You know, if you want to do this at home, if you want to get high, this is what you do. So that's how
So
it's-
when did you start drinking? Because you said earlier on that it was also helping you to get through stuff at home, maybe that you can talk to your dad about. So when did you start? Earlier on, you said you know still maybe a sip here and there, but when
Yeah.
did it become a habit that okay, I'm drinking?
I think Form 4 is the time when a lot of people start to become naughty
Yeah.
and rebellious. So that was the time when we really started to get into parties, and
Okay.
you know, at that time there was a thing called vuzu parties. So that's where the habit actually started, where we'd actually, because before it was just stealing drinks from home. Now we would actually go and buy, you know,
Okay.
put money together,
And
walk into a liquor shop, you know, whoever looked the oldest
then
goes in and buys, and
purchases.
that's how it started.
And when did you start like substance abuse? Was it also in high school, or this was like after like university?
It also started in high school,
Okay.
because when these things start, it's always experimental. It's
Okay.
a cool thing to do, and it, you know, it always feels nice the first time. So I think smoking, Form 3,
Okay.
I would do it before school, during school, after school.
Weren't you caught though?
No, I wasn't
Never.
caught.
Sheesh.
I
Okay.
wasn't caught. Well, I'm caught now. My teachers are watching.
Yeah, yeah, true. So, you said substance abuse, this was high school as well. So meaning
Yeah.
that when you went to varsity, this was already like something that you're used to doing.
Yeah, this was something I was used to doing, and you know, university, especially one like MSU. Yeah, I can say it really opened doors because of the freedom, and you know, people are from different places. So I really got into other types of drugs, because before it was
Okay.
just smoking weed.
And
Then I had a roommate who used to sell drugs.
ish.
So yeah, you know, he would always encourage me to take,
Okay.
you know, and I would always refuse. And you know, one day, that's how it starts. One day
One
you just
day
want
you-
to try. And
Yeah.
you're like, what does this thing feel like?
Yeah.
And that's how it started. Then that's where I picked up codeine.
Okay.
That's where it started with MSU, and I can say that's where it really got serious. Because, you know, your parents wouldn't see what you're doing. And the only way they know what you're doing is what you tell them over the phone.
Yeah. And
So-
why would you tell them exactly what you're doing?
Yeah, you'd always tell them school
Yeah,
is fine,
yeah.
you know. And on the other hand, you're getting high every day.
So, when you started codeine, was it like, did alcohol and cigarettes get out of the picture? Or it was like now a full package?
It was a full package.
Okay.
We would mix them together, actually.
Sure.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Ish.
It was bad. We'd actually, you know, I had friends who even picked up harder drugs. But luckily for me, I managed to avoid things like pills and
Okay.
you know, things like meth. But yeah, you know, we would mix alcohol with codeine. And then
Make
we
it
would
strong or
smoke
something.
to make it stronger, and it had a different feeling altogether. Then, yeah, that was it.
So how did you manage to get through lectures?
At first it was fine, you know, because at first, you know, I was a bit scared
Okay.
to do these things. It was just occasionally. On weekends, we would just meet together, and then I can say part 2.
That's when it got worse.
Yeah, when I got to know the school and how things work, that's how it, you know, it really escalated, and I would come to lectures hungover. Sometimes I would bunk because I'm too hungover. Sometimes I would even come drunk, you know.
And varsity, I know, like, lecturers don't care.
They don't
They
care.
just come and teach you everything, even if you're listening or not.
You sit at the back of the lecture
Yeah.
hall, they don't even notice. You can put
Yeah.
on shades.
Yeah.
You know, the freedom there
Yeah.
at university is something else.
But then was there any rule, like maybe like if you're caught with drugs or anything, you get maybe expelled, or it's okay,
There was a rule against drugs, but you know,
everyone's doing it.
yeah,
so.
it was a culture that
Yeah.
everyone was doing it, so we would just warn each other against it, but no one would really report unless you were selling. But if you were using, it wasn't really an issue because
Okay.
even lecturers used to smoke and
Yeah.
drink, so
Yeah.
that was the norm there at school.
So you still managed to finish your degree,
Yeah.
even though.
By God's grace, I managed to finish. Hopping on one leg.
So you just make sure that, like, during exams, you don't.
Yeah. When it came to school, I was
serious.
quite serious. I would read, but I was a bit playful. or something. I think I could have done better than what I did, but I was just too playful.
So when you came back to Bulawayo, how was your journey like? Because you did mention that, like in your story, that some of your friends left, and it was now just you.
Oh yes.
So did the use get better or worse? Like how?
It got worse because now, I would say when I was around some of my friends, some of them were non-drinkers and stuff like that, so they would kind of, you know, kind of tsunya each other
Okay.
to say no, you're overdoing it. So we kind of tell each other when you're now crossing the line.
Okay.
So I reached a point now where people were now leaving different countries, different cities. I was alone, so I didn't really have anyone to
Stop you and warn you that this is
warn
getting
me,
too far.
to share my troubles with and things like that. So I just started drinking. I think that's when I actually started drinking alone,
Okay.
because I never used to drink alone. But now I would go by myself to get a drink, to just deal with my issues, and because it was the only thing I had at the time.
Okay. Were you working at that point, or?
Yeah, I had jobs here and there, but nothing permanent. It was always part-time. And also, you know, the issue of drinking would affect my performance at work. You know, there's a job where I almost got fired, but, you know, they called me back and I managed to clean up my act the next time around, and my performance
better.
improved. But overall, it's just what I used to do. At that time, my life was becoming about alcohol a lot and smoking.
So that was your new normal, like your new, what do you call it? Soberness. Being
Yeah.
drunk would be your new sober.
Being drunk was my sober. You know, I would walk around with a quarter diluted in my pocket every day. That's how bad it was. I couldn't move around town without, you know,
So like
being
what,
drunk or
you'd walk
buzz.
here and there and take a sip, or?
Yeah, I would walk here and
Okay.
there, take a sip, here and there, take a sip. If it's finished, I go back, I buy
Get
another
some
one.
more.
And that was just my routine. It's what I used to do.
So at that point, were you, I know that everyone has goals and what they want to achieve in life. Was that also like in your mind, or you were just living for the next day? Or?
Yeah, it was always in my mind, you know. I think I can speak on behalf of everyone who's probably still getting drunk and doing drugs. They've got dreams and they've got goals, but then that addiction is in the way. So I used to think about it all the time, and I used to tell myself, hey, you need to quit.
Yeah.
You once said you're going to do this. You'd have a list of things you wanted to do, but you never accomplish one thing because the alcohol was always telling you no. You know, this
first.
feeling is the only thing you need.
Yeah.
Don't worry, everything is going to work out. Calm down. You know, so that was my mindset.
Were you still staying at home at that point?
Yeah, I was staying at home at that time.
So did you ever leave home because of the whole addictions, or you were still like at home but then getting
I was living at home. I would get in trouble, of course, because my father wasn't liking my behavior.
It was getting too much.
Yeah, there were days when, you know, I would come in whatever time. I would come in drunk, and do this and that. A lot of shenanigans that I used to pull, but you know.
So when did you reach rock bottom when you're like, no, this is too much, I can't?
Yeah, when I reached rock bottom now was probably when I could no longer afford the expensive alcohols now.
Okay.
Big 750s. I was now drinking a thing called Njengu.
Okay.
I don't know if
Yeah, I've heard
that
about
some
it.
viewers have heard about it. Yeah, so that's what I used to drink. They were very cheap. You know, I would be in rags. I would be looking scruffy. I would sell my things
Just to get it.
just to buy alcohol. You know, that was my rock bottom. You know, I had no plan at that time, to be honest. I was just kind of going with the wind. So that was my rock bottom.
You also said you had a nickname.
Yeah, I had a nickname. They called me Njengu Master
Ish.
because every time they would see me, I would always be holding a Njengu. So that was like my
So
nickname
it was
on
kind
the
of like
streets.
in town, like you were respected for that.
Yeah.
I
They knew who to come to and ask for that. And, you know, I was probably the only one who was drinking at that level. So
Yo,
that's why they gave me the nickname Njengu Master.
I can imagine. So when you reached rock bottom, I know sometimes it's hard to just say, okay, I'm leaving this, I'm turning around. How did you know how to go about it, or there was someone who came to aid?
To be honest, I didn't know how to go about it. Because like I said before, I came from a family of addicts.
Yes.
You know, you come home and you tell your father, hey, I want to quit. You know, and he's drinking. He'll
Yeah,
just
he'll
look
be
at
like,
you like...
So you think I'm crazy?
So
Yeah.
there was no formula for me at that time to go about it. So I was kind of depressed
Yeah.
for a very long time, you know. I would even have suicidal thoughts at that time. It really got that bad, you know. But then I think towards the last day, something started talking to me. A voice in my head was now telling me, no. You know, it was a time when I was now getting sick.
Okay.
Drinking these things was not good for my health. I would be sick almost every day. There was a time when I almost went to hospital as well. So it really got that bad.
You'd overdone it.
Yeah, I'd overdosed many times. Many times. I can say I'm lucky to be alive because I really used to overdo it. And then, you know, a voice just, you know, was speaking to me like, no, you need to change the way you're living your life. For how long are you going to keep doing this?
Yeah.
Because eventually you're going to die.
Yeah.
It only ends one way. So I'm just, you know, that was my meditation now. Like, I think it's
need
time
to
to go to
change.
church.
Yeah.
It's time to change. But I really didn't know where to
how.
start because I'm not from a religious background. You know, so I was kind of lost in that moment until a fellow brother of mine who I used to do these things with got saved and then invited me to his church.
Okay.
And that's when, you know, everything changed for me. My Christian journey began. I left all these things in the past and I started my new life.
I remember hearing your story once, and you said that you didn't know how to pray.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know how to pray. You know, we were just taught what's that Roman Catholic prayer.
Yes, yes.
That's the only one I knew. Then maybe a couple of others because, you know, primary I went to St. Thomas. So
Okay.
that's kind of the way I was raised. My mother is Roman Catholic.
Okay.
So that's just the prayers we used to do. So I never really knew how to form a prayer.
Yes, your own.
Yeah, I would literally, I would write it down.
Okay.
You know, on
And
paper.
and then read it out. To
Then
God.
read it out and be like, yeah, this is my prayer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until eventually you know, I learned
Okay.
how to do it. I can say I'm still learning.
So, for someone who is going through the same thing, what advice can you give? Let's say they're trying to let go of those things. What advice can you give them?
All right. So the advice I would give to all the youth out there that's struggling with alcohol abuse and drug abuse is that, one, Jesus cares and He's there for you. Because I remember when I was there, I used to think I was alone and there was no one that was there for me to hear my problems and my cries. Two, I came from being a non-believer to a believer, and I've seen the miracles of God. So I can tell the people out there that God is real and He cares about your situation. And you should take all your problems to Him in prayer. To be sincere, you can overcome anything. And I came from being a Njengo master, you know, basically living like a homeless man. Now I'm doing well. I've started my own business. You know, you want to expand to other things as well. You know, God has done good things in my life.
Amen.
And He's willing to do good things for you as well. All you need to do is give yourself unto Him and watch what He does for you.
Thank you very much for that. This is quite a story of a remarkable turnaround, and it is quite something big for someone to be taken from nowhere to something, and to some way. And God really thoroughly cleansed him and displayed him for the world to see. Now you can all see. When you see him, you can't tell he was a Njengo master. You can't tell he was a drug addict or anything like that. And it's to show how powerful the blood of the Lord Jesus Christ is. And like you said, for anyone out there who is in these things, it's not too late to turn around. God is there for you. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
I have these t-shirts here, and this one is for you.
Thank you very much.
Second chance.
Okay. I'll wear this every day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you in the next story.